Today I'm actually walking through this forest here. My main aim is to get onto the other side where the ocean connects. There's a lot of huge cliffs there and stuff, but what I'm really wanting to get today is the sunset, but I'm not really sure yet on the angle of where the sunset's going to be until I get there, and I'm hoping I will get a good view of the sunset with the ocean, but as I said, I'm not sure until I get there. Sun is still pretty high right now, so I have a good couple of hours left. So I've made it out to the ocean, but my only problem is the spot that I've found. It's just this cliff that just runs off down here. There's all this tall grass, which looks pretty cool, but the water's literally running all the way in, and I actually don't know how to get down to that. What I'd love to have is actually like a cliff face that kind of runs into the water. I've just come out to this little section here, and there's this tiny little lighthouse, which I thought could actually make a really cool image. Most of you guys already know that I don't actually like taking photos with man-made things in it, but in this context, it actually works quite well. I am by the ocean, and it doesn't really matter if I have a few little things in like this, especially with it being something that serves a purpose here. I'm gonna have to try and find a composition that actually works for this. The sun is still a little too high for me to take the shot that I'm wanting, but I'm gonna test out a few things and just see how this goes first, and then we can get into talking about what I actually want to do with this image and where I want to take it. Okay, so I'm actually finding it quite hard to get a shot of the lighthouse and with the sun together. So my problem is the sun is actually setting over onto that side. But I'm able to get a couple of good shots of the lighthouse itself. But I do want a lot of depth in this photo, and I want something to kind of lead up to it. So as you can see, it's all these rocks on the side of the cliff are leading up to the lighthouse in the back there, and you're getting the sun casting onto the side, and you're getting some nice shadows in between as well. Instead of trying to find something that's going to work with the sun, I'll still take a shot of the lighthouse and make it work in its own way and make it its own image, and then focus on getting a shot of the sunset in a different way afterwards. I'm actually going to take the shot from around here. I'm not going to use the tripod for this one because I'm not really sure about leaving it up on these rocks here. The water's literally right underneath me, and I don't want my tripod suddenly falling into the water. That would really suck. And I actually don't have a filter with me today, so I'm not able to slow the shutter speed down to give some movement to the water, but there's actually quite a lot of detail in the water, even though it's quite calm. That will give it a little bit of contrast as well to the image. What I'm thinking is trying to get as low as possible on this one and go more for a bit of a portrait shot on this one, because I kind of want to get as much of the rocks in. So I am focusing on the lighthouse. So the lighthouse is my main focus point because I want that to be in focus. I am shooting this at f13 and 1/320th of a second. I was planning to shoot this at f16 so I could get a sun star, but obviously with me not focusing on the sun, I'm not going to need to do that right now. But with it being still quite bright, I can just pump up my shutter speed quite high and pretty much just drop my f-stop all the way down. But the problem with that is that the depth of field is going to look a little bit strange with this kind of shot, and everything here in the foreground is just going to be blown out and you're not going to get any detail out of it. So I'd rather leave it at around f13, bring out the contrast in the rocks and get as much detail from the front of the image all the way to the back. And I'm also shooting this at ISO 100 because obviously doing it at my lowest ISO will add a lot of detail back into the image without starting to add grain to the image, which I don't really want in this one. I mean, it could work because there's so much detail in the rocks and stuff and you won't see it that much, but I'd rather pick out as much detail as I possibly can. found this really cool composition. I'm actually behind this cliff here. I was trying to aim for something getting like a whole cliff in, but then I decided I actually want to go for a bit more detail of something close by and just get something cool out of it. And right now the sun is pretty low, so I'm behind these rocks here, and there's actually a split in the cliff, so it's kind of like this leading line just going up, and just behind that there's this little shrub, and then I've got the sun just peeping behind like this little gap, and basically I want to get the sun in that little gap and have the shrub next to it while shooting in a portrait angle to be able to get the leading line up. Otherwise in landscape this is actually not going to work. I'm actually going to shoot this at f/16 because I'm trying to get a sun star, and what will happen is that just between the gap you'll get beams of light coming through the actual gap, which is pretty cool, and it's something that I actually really like. But the only problem with the sun being on that side, I'm actually in a dark area, and I actually have to drop my shutter speed quite low just to be able to bring back the shadows into the side of the rock, which is okay. It just means I have to be a little bit more steady. So I'm still keeping my ISO still quite low, but I'm going to shoot it at around 320, which shouldn't really introduce much grain at all. It'll just brighten things up a little bit, and it'll still allow me to raise my shutter speed a little bit. So now I've got it up to 200th of a second, and I have my f-stop at f/16, and I'm just focusing on the little tree up there while trying to also get the leading line up to the sun. Alright, so I need to go. The sun is almost gone now, and I already know it's pretty much dark in the forest, and I don't really want to go through there during the night. It's hard enough knowing how to get back as it is. So I'm gonna make my way back. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and I hope you guys maybe learned a little bit of something as well. But anyway, really enjoyed coming out here today. Beautiful place. And yeah, let me know which image you guys actually preferred, and I'll see you guys in the next one.